budgeting process, how we go through it, and the challenges we do face for the upcoming year. So to start, I'd just like to say that the city's operating budget process, it's very detailed, it's methodical, and it's collaborative. So departments are overseen by a standing committee, of which we have 10 and one for water and sewer. And your elected council, as well as the associated senior manager, sit on these various committees. And the city has 24 different departments, each with its own operating budget. So starting in January, the managers are asked to start working on their budgets. Although they must keep the resource limitations in mind, there's many considerations that go into the compilation of the budget. For example, first and foremost is our citizens' safety. We need to have an appropriate complement of staff and equipment for our protective services, police, fire, and emergency services. We also need to factor in the soundness of our infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, and ensure we provide clean water. We need to respect our environment and our heritage properties. We also need to plan for growth in the city. We need to provide and maintain green space and recreational activities. We want to be able to welcome guests to our city by investing in tourism and events. We want to encourage affordable housing and new commercial development through tax breaks. We also make every effort to help all those smaller charities that provide essential services to so many of our residents. So all these areas need financial support to operate, and like any municipality, the city is constrained by its available revenue. So with all that in mind, the department budgets are prepared by managers and taken to their respective standing committees for discussion. At this time, your input as citizens is often brought forward through your ward councillor. Once the committees have met with the draft one, all the different departments are then consolidated into a master budget. So after that, we see, where we need to get. Again, we're limited by the resources, but we also have to keep all those other factors in mind. So there's a lot of back and forth with the managers, council members, finance department, the CAO, until the first draft is ready to be presented to the Finance, Audit, and Tendering Committee. There's typically several drafts that are reviewed by the Finance Committee prior to it going to council as a whole. And once there's further discussion and possibly changes until the budget is passed at the end of March. So the challenges we face this year are incorporating record high increases in fuel, furnace oil, and electricity, as well as the disruptions within the supply chain. It is causing overall increases in most expenditures. So we need to factor all that in while still keeping the city safe and maintaining strong service levels. So just a couple notes on really the whole breakdown of the budget. So when we are budgeting, we keep in mind several things. The past is a fairly good predictor of the future. That said, we have to be cognizant that the last 2 years were, well, hopefully one-offs. So they were distorted, obviously, by COVID. So, but overall, this is why the draft or the budget from last year is a good starting point for discussion, because overall our percentages of our total budget remain pretty much consistent, meaning that, for example, property taxes and provincial grants make up the majority of the city's revenue. So typically property taxes have been between 58.5 and 60% of our total revenue. And the provincial grants have been about 24%. So over the past couple of years, though, that's 60%. If you take the 58.5 for and the 24, we'll round that up. It's getting closer to 65% and 85 or 25 respectively. And this can be attributed to the increase in assessed property values and also just the general growth within the city. So we expect the tax revenue in 22-23 to be in line with this growth we were starting to see last year. And then the remaining 10% of revenue comes from, police tickets, parking meters, the parking garages, and some recreational activities. So that pretty much makes up the 60%, approximately 60 million revenue that the city has received over the last several years. And I say, it's 60 million-ish. So that takes care of the revenue side. And on the expenditure side, Public Works takes the largest portion of the budget at about 25%. This is followed by police at 16 to 17%. Fiscal services is typically at 13 to 14%. So this includes like our servicing our long-term debt, our interest, our depreciation, and just all those kinds of financing factors. Grants and tax incentives typically are between 9 and 10%. So that's us helping out with the affordable housing, with, like I say, some tax breaks for businesses, and the smaller kind of charities that provide such essential services and support to the city. Fire and emergency preparedness follows that at about 7%. And then the remaining 30% is all the other departments. So those are my comments. Does anyone have any questions?
Don't say anything, Nancy. Maybe we can just start right away with our guests.
Do you have the names of our guests there, Councillor Ramsey?
Just give me one sec here. Maria Maud and Don Allen for downtown Charlottetown is on the first, and then Mike Podger, Sam McPhail, and CEO Robert Godfrey for the Greater Area Charlottetown Chamber of Commerce, Barbara Louise McDougall, Steve McKinnon, and Erica Bradley. So Maria or Don, are you on? Would you like to? I don't see their names up there.
I don't.
I think I see Dawn.
Yes, I do too.
Is Dawn on there, Laura?
I see her name. I'm not sure if she's right there or not, though.
We are both called in. We didn't have any particular questions. We're just here to listen.
Okay, thank you very much, folks.
Maria.
Mike Podger and Sam McPhail. I believe Mike Podger first. Mike, are you online? Let's try Sam McPhail and CEO Robert Godfrey from Greater Area Chamber of Commerce.
Sam will be joining us this evening. Sam, I think, believes listening in. But my name is Robert Godfrey, and I am the CEO of the Greater Charlottetown Area Chamber of Commerce. Really appreciate the opportunity just to say a few brief remarks. We sent a submission to the city on January 14th of 2022 that kind of outlines 4 or 5 of our comments or suggestions for the council to consider as they put together their budget. The first one I'd say is the freezing of parking rates. I think right now the city of Charlottetown, at least from a business standpoint, is really focused on bringing people back into our downtown core. I think that that is very important as we move forward in a period of transition, as we try and build back the business that we've kind of lost. Businesses have experienced, as you know, 2 years of um, 2 years of COVID-19, and we all know what that entails. So we're suggesting that the freezing of parking rates remains for this year so we can get people back into our downtown core. The second would be the freezing of commercial property taxes just temporarily for this year. As we kind of look at, again, people are trying to balance their books, trying to get things right as we build out of COVID-19. And again, trying to make sure that we've got also ample forecasting for people as well. The third thing that we would say is that, you know, we're very conscious of the fact that the economic development officer vacancy remains. We saw the mayor was gracious enough to discuss this yesterday as a part of a Chamber Live event. I just want to reemphasize, Mr. Mayor, that that is a position that we really strongly encourage be filled. And, you know, we're also looking at permit timing. If there's efficiencies that can be found in the city of Charlottetown to get building permits in particular out the door, whether that's elimination of red tape, hiring more staff, things of those nature, to just make sure that we're getting those permits out the door as fast as we possibly can. And the fourth would be transparent planning for future rate increases. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying in terms of the commercial property tax. Yeah, we understand from time to time there's going to be incremental increases in fees and taxes. If you're able to put those out 2-3 years ahead as much as you possibly can, allowing businesses to plan, adapt to their budgets as they set them every year, I think that would be very beneficial to businesses across Charlottetown. And the last would be procurement. This has been an issue that we've talked about also yesterday, and I want to bring it up just briefly again today, that whenever possible, you know, respecting that you're trying to balance taxpayers' dollars, that local procurement be a part of, you know, a local lens we put on the procurement process when you're making large purchases. So that I'm happy to answer any questions, and again, thank you for the opportunity to make some comments.
Thank you, Robert, for your time and your effort, and they're all valid points. They're all being noted. I believe, Nancy, am I correct?
Yes.
Yes, they are. Does anyone have any questions for Robert?
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Ramsey.
Oh, Mayor, you're here.
Robert, I do want to follow up that we are working with a forward vision of filling that position, the Economic Development Officer, as I said yesterday. And as for the permits going out the door, Alex can tell you that in 2020, we had over $180 million in construction bill value or bill dollars. So that was the highest ever in the history. And that puts a lot of strain on the staff and the process. And last year was up to 160 million in bill dollar value. So it's been a lot of work, and we're trying to get the permits through as quickly as possible. But there is due process that we have to follow. And as you mentioned about the procurement policy, I mentioned that yesterday at our meeting with the GCC. The province does have a 10% for local buy-in, and I think that's something we'll be looking at as a municipality.
Thank you.
Okay. And you want to take over, Your Worship?
I will. Thank you, Kevin. Sorry for my lateness. I assumed that it was a normal public meeting at 7 p.m., but we switched times, but we have to pivot and adapt to changes as we move along. Do we have other guest speakers on the list?
Yes, we do, Your Worship. The next one would be Barbara Lewis McDougall, or McDowell, I'm sorry, or Stephen McKinnon and Erica Bradley.
Yep.
Hey,
So
folks, you're good to go.
McDowell?
Yes,
Yep. Can you hear us, Barb?
Barbara.
Oh, that's Barbara Diala. This is Barb McDowell. Barb, can you hear us?
I'm not seeing her name on.
No.
Okay.
How about Steve McKinnon, your worship?
Is Steve McKinnon in the building?
I don't see that name.
And then the last one, your worship, is Erica Bradley.
Erica Bradley, is she on our list or is she with our group?
There's 2 call-in users and I don't know who they are, but
I think they're from downtown Charlottetown, Maria Maud and Don Allen. Nancy.
They're just listening, and I don't think they plan to make a presentation, but if they wish to, they want to, they can.
And the last 2 names, your worship, they're just on for viewing. Barbara Delawa and Glenn Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
But they're just there for viewing, sir. Sorry.
No, I believe that they sent their regrets earlier today.
Okay.
But they are viewing the presentation. Okay. Do we
Thank
have
you,
anyone
Councillor
else?
Hancock. No, that's all the names I have on my wish list, your worship.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Do we have any questions from councillors for clarification?
No, my only question was for Nancy before you were on, your worship, is that everything's going to be recorded and council's going to see all the opinions and ideas and everything like that, so we all can sort of go through them?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good, thank you.
And I know that Nancy explained the process. So the process is, this is part of the process this evening, the public consultation.
That's correct.
And, any information that we gather will be part of discussions as we move forward. And then there will be a draft budget. So I have Dawn Allen. I think that's Dawn with her hand waving. Are you there, Dawn?
Good evening, Your Worship. Thank you for recognizing my hand. I don't have a formal presentation, but I did want to listen in to support those who were there and the council as well. I would say that DCI's requests for this upcoming budget is echoing what the chamber said, a freeze on parking rates going forward until we have come to the other side of a pandemic and businesses are on a better footing. We also are anxious to see everyone's favorite Ron Atkinson's position filled for the Economic Development Officer, and we're looking forward to having that person join your ranks and partnering with DCI in our endeavors to make our city bigger and better. We at DCI are strongly in support of residential building within the core, especially this year. There are some really good products that are being considered as we speak, and I know that your Planning Heritage Department are working diligently with those folks for the best product that's possible for our city, and we're appreciative of that, and we do hope to see those products come to conclusion and people living in our downtown in the very near future. And also, just our last note would be, we say this each year and we'll continue to say so, I would say, street issues and housing are priority for downtowns across the nation and street activity as well. And so although we're very appreciative of the support that we receive from our police services and others within the downtown, we see from best practice a huge advantage to those downtowns who have, I hope it's not derogatory to say a beat cop, but a foot officer within the BIA walking the streets, getting to know the people who are there and helping us to support the people who are involved with streets, because although we want to support everyone, we also want to support commerce in the downtown and to make sure that everyone's comfortable. And so if there's a possibility that that officer, our street officer within the BIA would ever come to fruition, that is something we would very much support and appreciate as well. I would also take a moment to say thank you to you, Mayor, and to Council and to the administration and support staff at City, and that we're very appreciative of you and your efforts and all that you do. Thank you.
Don. And Don, I know you and I were part of the, I believe it's here, the urban presentation,
Yep.
the Canadian Urban Institute presentation that took place January 25th and 26th. It was the Summit on the City, Recovering Canada's Downtowns. And you heard the same message I heard, that downtowns across the country, actually in the United States, are looking at more residential living opportunities or providing living accommodations for residential properties, and those commercial properties that may not come back to full occupancy is a possibility. Is that what you recall in that presentation?
Absolutely, and the recommendations from the mini economic summit that same day, talking to our counterparts right across the region, suggested strongly that research to know who we're dealing with and what their needs are, the housing inventory, the housing costs, and street issues were priorities in all that we talked about over those 2 days. So yes, you're absolutely right.
Right. That was the micro summit that ran parallel to the Atlantic Mayors Congress last October.
Oh, right. So you're talking about
Yeah,
the Canadian Urban Institute
Yeah, that was
summit.
the
Yes,
same message. The same message was that
yes,
this is an opportunity for downtowns to reinvent themselves, reinvigorate by providing more opportunities for families to live downtown. No different than when I was growing up in the downtown back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So it's an opportunity for us, for downtown Charlottetown Inc. and the Greater Charlottetown Chamber of Commerce and developers to look at that as a possibility.
absolutely. Populating our downtown with residents gives 24/7 business opportunities for our businesses, and it revitalizes the downtown with vitality and people on the street. So absolutely, that's the direction we need to go.
Thank you.
Those are
Thank you
good
for your
points.
time.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Don.
Any other comments? This looks great.
Seeing none, your worship?
I think, do any of our staff wish to provide commentary or do we move on?
Seems to be all quiet in the front.
Okay, I'm going to give a last call to councillors if they want to ask any questions of clarification, comments, staff. And if not, we can start making first draft, second draft of our budget to hopefully present. I think Nancy mentioned it, Councillor Ramsey, by the end of this month, because it's required by law that we present it, and that in legislation under the Municipal Government Act, it doesn't allow us to forecast a deficit, so we have to keep everything balanced with expenditures and revenue.
Yes, your worship, we're hoping to bring down the operational budget to 31st of March.
Good. And all I need is
for
Go ahead,
tuning
Joe.
in too. Well, I just want to thank everybody for being here, your worship, that's all.
Did you open the meeting? We'll have to close the meeting with a resolution.
No, we never did that.
You didn't do that? Okay.
No.
Well, we should, it's a public consultation, so I can get Councillor Ramsey to move for an adjournment. Do I get a seconder?
Yes.
Seconder?
Sure.
Councillor Duran, great. Okay, and all those in
Thank
favor?
you. All right.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, staff members. Thank you, and have a great evening and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you.